It's Wednesday, Klaus here. It's time for another basic Davinci Resolve tutorial.
Hello, Klaus here. It's Wednesday and time for yet another basic Davinci Resolve tutorial. As you saw from one of my videos earlier this week, I did a review of the M16 Motion VFX pack, and that is totally nice if you are a lover of 16mm film. And if you want to create that effect, you could of course use that pack. If you are interested in the pack or did not see the video will be up in the top corner, and of course there'll be a link down in the description below. But maybe you want to create some kind of the same effect, but you are short on cash or you have a limited budget, so I'll give you a couple of options so you can do that. Okay, so let's start out by going up to the effects, and in the open effects we're just going to search for film, and here we have film damage, and I'm going to put that on the first clip here. And already now we have a vintage look pretty fast. Of course, like it is with the motion VFX, this is pretty intensive on your graphics. So if you are not using, for instance, the playback options here where we can put in the render cache, or we could turn on the resolution of the timeline to half, for instance, it should be able to run a little bit smoother as well. So there we have the first option, and of course, like with the motion VFX, we can go up to the effects and we can customize our film damage effect in different ways. For instance, with making it more or less blurry, changing the vignette and stuff like that, adding dirt, scratches, and all of that stuff. We can customize this to make it look just the way we want. Another option, of course, would be to use the analog damage. I'm going to add that in again. And if we go up to the inspector, we can, of course, change this from the clean VHS look into something, let's say, we can do something early television or something. Let's say we can do something like 60s black and white, whatever we want to do. And already here we have an effect. And again, we can go in and customize the things as we want. Of course, we not necessarily wanted to do that kind of a look. We could go into custom, of course, and just change things around, make it our own, and stuff like that. Again, this is customizable and will give your footage a vintage look pretty fast and pretty easy. Another way would be to use overlays, and overlays can be found multiple places on the net. For instance, I found some on Storyblocks, which you could try out and use, of course, if you have Storyblocks. There's different places you can get these. I'll just go in here and I'm just going to take, let's say, this overlay here. I'm going to put this on top of the clip. I'm just going to make it fit here, and then I'll obviously take the clip here and I'll go into the composite mode, and I'm going to change the composite mode. In this case, I think it should be changing this to either to multiply or to overlay is also a possibility, or simply just turn it into screen. And this is what we're going to do for this. So now we have this effect here, and of course this is a little bit too much, and I also have these black bars here I don't want, so I'm going to select the clip, going to zoom bits, and then in the composite mode, I'm simply going to blend this in until it gets where I want it. So here we have another retro look made pretty fast using overlays and composite mode. However, you might be in the situation where you have zero money to do an effect like this for. In that case, let's build something. So we're going to start out with the exact same animation right here, and I'm going to go over to the effects. I'll go into the generators, and I'm just going to take a solid color. I'm going to put a solid color on top of the footage, and I'm going to select the solid color. I'll go into the inspector, and I'm just going to crop left and right, something like that. I'm going to make a line here, and then I'm just going to position this around here using the transform. And if I go down to the cropping again, I have the softness here, and I want to soften this quite a bit. So now we have this line here, and I'm simply going to do an animation of this scratch so it will move. And I'm going to do this pretty easy and pretty fast as well. So I'm going to select the solid color. I'll go up to the inspector, and in the transform here, I'm going to put in a keyframe in the position. And what I'm doing now, I'm just simply going to push the spacebar, and then I'm just going to move it around real time. So it might be pretty random. And of course you can do this more controlled, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to do this pretty fast. So nothing special, it's just around here, something like that. Yeah. It has this effect of a bit of movement. So that's what I'm going for right now. So of course we could, if we wanted to add in another one, we could highlight this and duplicate this clip, selecting this clip. And we're now going to go again to the beginning of this clip, selecting this clip, and I'm just going to simply delete whatever I did here in the position. So now we have a second one. I'm just going to put this around here, I think. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, putting in a keyframe. This time just doing the opposite direction, and again, it's just totally random, like that. So now we have this effect of old film here. Nice, we're going to keep that. So for the next step, I want to add in a effect here. I want to add in a adjustment layer. I'm just going to put that in here, putting that on top of everything. So I just want to add in, again, an effect. I want to add in a vignette. That's in my open effects. I'm going to put that into the adjustment clip here. So I can change the size and stuff like that right here, making it a little more subtle, changing the softness a bit. Perhaps I want to make it a little larger, changing that, something like that. So if I select the adjustment clip, I'll go up to the inspector. I'm going to put in a keyframe in the size here of the vignette. And then, I can just do the same thing and create movements as I did with the scratches before. So very slow, making this illusion that it's flickering old film. Something like that. Cool. So one thing I can do as well, before I do anything else, I can go into the softness of the vignette, and I can actually soften this out just a little bit, like that. And then I'll just continue to add in stuff. So I'm going to add in another adjustment clip. And this adjustment clip, I am going to give this a color. Just right clicking, and then I'm just going to change the color into, let's say, green, doesn't really matter. And then I'll just jump into the color tab. And in the color tab, I'm making sure I'm on the adjustment clip, the one I made green, and you can see that up here in the top corner. So when you're seeing old footage, one thing you would actually notice is that it's very seldom sharp. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make my image here less sharp. And it's going to do that on all of the things underneath because I'm using adjustment clips. So it's pretty easy. I'll go in here to this tab right here. If I want to sharpen things, I'll drag it down, but I don't want to sharpen things. I want to make it more blurry. So I'm going to push upwards just a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit. So now we have already now made this a little more blurry and a little more vintage, I guess. Another thing to add in would be Alt-S to add in another note. And in this case, I am going to add in film grain. Maybe film grain is not available in the free version of Davinci Resolve. In that case, you could use pictures of grain and use that as a overlay and put that on top and just blend it in. But since I am on the studio version, I'm going to use film grain. I'm going to add in film grain, and film grain has a preset of 16 millimeters, so we're going to use that. And actually, we're just going to mess around with the texture of the grain here and the grain size, bumping that up quite a bit, and also the aspect ratio, we could do that. Grain strength, and we're also going to use the offset just a little bit, and maybe a little bit of saturation. So now we have a pretty nice little effect here with grain in our clip. Also, another thing to add in would be the colors. On old footage, you often see that the colors seem a bit more fainted than particularly this thing. So I would go into the saturation and drag out some saturation a bit. Go into the color boost and drag out especially colors. And what you would see on old film as well is that that would sometimes be more yellow. So I'm going up to the temperature. I'm just pushing this a little towards yellow. And then I'll go down to the color boost and boosting that a little bit up again. Something like that, I think, would be nice. A little more yellow, something like that. Yeah, that could definitely do the trick. So let's go into the edit page. One last thing to add in here is I'm actually going to move my adjustment clip with all the effects 2 layers up. Then I'll do the last little thing, and that's just to take another solid color. I'm going to add that in here and going to make it fit. And then we are just going to, again, crop the solid color. Let's say we're going to crop it from right here. Just doing a little different aspect ratio, something like that. I'm going to copy paste this one, going to select it, and then I'll just move this over here to the other side. Hopefully, let's see, this is fitting. If it doesn't fit, we're just going to quickly make it fit. Something like that. So here we have a retro effect done for absolutely free using Davinci Resolve 17. Anyway, I do hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, share it with your friends if you think it would help them out, and if you want to be notified every time there's a new video on this channel, please hit that bell icon down in the corner. Until next time, keep filming, keep learning, and keep sharing.